Hello po and good morning po sa inyong lahat from Washington DC. It is 6:05 in the morning here in Washington DC. It's very well cold here inside our place, but it's kind of like warm outside because it's already summer dito po sa Washington DC. And I know in the Philippines it's 6 p.m., right? Ma'am Andre, is it 6 p.m. there? Or nakamute po. There we go. Let me unmute. Still muted. There we go.
Okay, 6:05 in the evening po.
6:05. How's the weather like there in the Philippines po?
Yeah, it's raining here po. It's a
Oh,
bit cold.
wow.
Yes.
Yeah. We
Kasi
just
po
have had a
rainy season na po ngayon. Start na ng rainy season. Kaya
we
medyo
just had
malamig.
a rain like yesterday. It rains a lot here also like Seattle where I came from. But it's kwan po. Well, not as much, but it's humid. Very humid po dito yung mainit yung yung hangin.
Okay.
Anyways, we have very special guest today po, Ma'am Andre, who you will
Yes,
introduce, who will teach us about Bikol orthography. It's something
yes.
special, close to my heart because it's kwan po, it's about language. So
Yes
it's
po.
really
Kaya po
special to me.
ka-interest po ako na invite yung guest natin kasi napanood ko po siya sa isang um, lecture niya po way back 2 years ago. So,
Mm,
napaghandaan ko po na-remember ko po siya. So, gusto ko siyang i-invite at salamat po sa ating guest at pinaunlakan niya po tayo.
yes,
Ang
yes,
ating guest
opo.
po, Sir Alan, ay born in Naga in April 20, 1966. Was ordained priest on November 9, 1991. Finished a PhD in philosophy in 1995. Currently the director of Ateneo de Naga University Press, the CEO of Consuelo Chito Madrigal Foundation, the head of the education this cluster of the Archdiocese of Caceres, the president of the Catholic Educational Association of Caceres and Libmanan naman, and the parish priest of Saint Raphael, the Archangel priest, Pili, Camarines Sur. Mga kakultura, mga kapwa ko guro, let us welcome to Kolektoratura ng Kultura or Kapwa, Father Wilmer Joseph S. Tria, PhD. Magandang gabi po, Father Tria. Salamat po sa papaunlak. Sana po masagot po yung mga tanong namin tungkol sa Bicol Orthology po. Salamat po.
Yes,
Welcome
thank
po.
you po sa pagpapaunlak sa invitation po namin and we're very excited po to listen to your kwan po, to your presentation. We can't wait.
Thank you po. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes. Yun, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and straight to our kwan po presentation. Just let me know po if you will go next already to the next slide. Okay po. The floor is yours po.
Okay. Thank you, Alan and Marie. And good evening, good morning, good noon, good day to everyone. So the topic given to me is Bicol orthography. And I prepared a PowerPoint presentation to facilitate the discussion. So next, please, so we can discuss the. So actually, this is based from the research funded by Ateneo de Naga University, and the outcome of this is a publication of a book titled Guide to Bicol Orthography. So next, please. The purpose. So first is we wanted to understand why there is a need to have a uniform writing system or orthography in the Bicol language, which means that we're thinking not only for ourselves but for the future. We want to encourage children to read books in the native language and to facilitate and encourage them and provide them the comfort in the reading of the native language. We want a uniform writing system or spelling system. So that's the first objective. And then the second is to appreciate the simplicity of the rules in writing as guide to Bikol orthography. So actually, the rules can be so complicated to the point that you cannot remember any of them at all. So we wanted to simplify things, but this has to be based on survey. So we conducted a region-wide survey asking different class of people. And then the last, to get accustomed to writing using the guide to Bicol orthography. So the moment you start writing and you get used to it, then hopefully it becomes part of your system. So you don't have to be referring to the guide anymore through constant practice. So next, please. So what was the methodology? So as I've said or mentioned earlier, we conducted a region-wide survey. Bicol has like 6 provinces. We went to the different provinces, and then we consulted the clergy, which means the priests who are accustomed to reading the scriptures, the rites in Bicol, then the students, the professionals, and ordinary workers like the carpenters, yung mga panday, mga padya, para padyak, and so on and so forth. So those were, all of them were represented in the region-wide survey. And then, okay, next please. So after that, after consolidating, we were able to come up with basic rules on how to spell Bicol words. So there are actually 3 parts. The first part is how to spell the native words. So actually, mahirap yung to distinguish the assimilated Spanish-English words from the native words. So meron tayong dictionary, yung Marco de Lisboa Dictionary, which collected the pre-Spanish Bicol words. So para sigurado that what we have listed are actually native words, because many young people today cannot distinguish the Spanish assimilated words from the native words. So ito, what governs the spelling of native words. And then the second part is about how to spell assimilated borrowed words. Okay, both Spanish and English. And then we will end with some notes on diacritics and why do we need to put diacritics in our spelling system. So next, please. Okay, so in native words, the E sounds shall be spelled with I. Actually, before the Spaniards came, the natives only knew about 3 sounds, 3 vowel sounds, the A, E, and U. And then because of the colonization, because of the infusion of Spanish words, we added the E and then the O sounds. But following the same logic, if the E and the O sounds are foreign to us, then when we spell the native words, it's natural that we just use the original A, E, U sounds. So in this case, based from the survey, ganun pa rin yung result, all E sounds shall be spelled with I. Like yung hari, hari is hadi in Bicol. So we don't say hade or spell it hade, but hadi. Hari is don't. And guni-guni. Sain, hain, arin. Like ipot. Ipot is the chicken manure. So we don't use the E. like epot or this one, yung heto, we use ini, igwa. And then for the word sick, helang, we call it hilang in Bikol. May sakit siya, may hilang siya. Or hiling, that means to see. To see is healing. So if you will observe, all these words are spelled with I instead of with E. Many times in written texts, they are confused. So some prefer E, some would prefer I. But based from the survey, the tendency really is to use I instead of E. And it's logical because, as I've said, before the Spaniards came, we only had 3 vowels. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, all O sounds found at the last syllable shall be spelled with O. Like kamo, sa Tagalog kayo. Kamot, yung kamay. Hiro, which means movement. Tao or tao, ako. So you'll observe that because they are written in the last syllable, as the last letter, they are written in O. The next rule is all O sounds found before the last syllable shall be spelled with U. Samuya, uya, uya means here, uda means wala, urig means baboy, uran, it should be uran or rain, nawala yung N. So, kapag sa last, O siya. Pero pag nakapasok na siya sa penultimate, and then yung mga pasok pa ng mga O sounds, lahat na siya U. Yan ang lumalabas sa survey. Okay, so next please. Okay, when it comes to the consonants, we only use the abacada. If we go back, our alphabet is not A, B, C, D, F, G. It's not the Spanish A, B, C, etc. But it's the abacada. So abacada, egaha, lamana para sa tao, etc. So if you will observe, these words are using all consonants that are native. Like kamatis, instead of C, we use K. Damulag, gurang, harong, langka, mani, niyog, ngipon, patis, rambutan, saldang, talong, walo, yukyuk or kilikili. So I hope you get some of the words. Kamatis, para-pareho naman tayo, kamatis. Damulag is kalabaw, gurang, yung old person, harong is bahay. Instead of using J, which is Spanish, we use H. Langka is jackfruit, mani, nyog. Ngipon is ngipin, patis, rambutan. Saldang is sun, talong, you know that. Walo, you know that. And yukyuk or kilikili. Okay, so again, if I may repeat it, we just use the native consonants. We avoid using a letter V, letter J, letter C because they are Spanish or foreign. They don't belong to our abacada. Next, please. Now, let's jump to the foreign words. So, sa native, we discussed the use of, if it's A, then it's non-contentious. Walang problema sa A. Pero yung E and E sound, O and U sound, we already provided the simplest rules kapag sa last O. Pag nakapasok na siya, we use U. Okay, for foreign words, if assimilated from Spanish, use the abacada. The principle here is if you have a guest, the guest should stay for only a day, 2 or 3, pero umuwi ka na. You cannot stay forever. But if we start using it and make it part of our language, of our day-to-day conversation, then it's no longer a guest. Talagang it's part of our lectionary, of our dictionary. Kaya pag pumasok, it has to follow our rules. Kaya dito nilagay natin, if assimilated from Spanish, use the abacada principle. So you will see there, cajon, from the Spanish cajon, then familia, then the original familia, general, hamon, cuarto, botante, sapatos. So as simple as that. Kasi pinapasok na natin yung mga words sa ating dictionary, then sundin na natin yung abacada principle. The next rule, if assimilated from English, the same. Sa English naman, use abacada. Like fiction to fiction, gym, jeep, sports. I hope you can read. Ano po? Para hindi ko na i-bold. Larva, exam, xerox, zipper. Lumakas yung loob ko dito. And then, of course, ito rin yung result sa survey. Because even if you go to Malaysia, Indonesia, di ba yung if you go to libraries, yung fiction, they would spell it Piksyen. Instead of O, they would use E. Kasi yung British yung pag-pronounce nila. So fiction. Or yung taxi, instead of TAKSI, ang mababasa mo sa bahasa, it's TEKSI, taxi. You will understand because British yung pronunciation ng English nila. So if they can do that, then we can also do this. Para masabi nating assimilated na talaga yung mga English words. Again, yung chemo, from CH to K, charcoal, TS, from CH to TS, therapy to T, pneumonia, from PN to NY. Next slide, please. Okay, balik tayo sa Spanish. Yung mga contentious, again, yung mga E to I. Napadali lang yung pag-type ko kanina. Dapat E-C-H-A. Like in Spanish, when you say to throw, the Spanish word is echar. Now, if you assimilate it, itsa mo na yan. So, it's I-T-S-A. Again, impake. In Spanish, it's E-M-P-A-Q-U-E. Pero kung mag-impake ka dito sa Bikol o sa Tagalog, hindi mo nagagamitin yung Spanish. Or escandalo, from E-S-C to I-S-K, escandalo. Okay, another rule, DE is retained, like devotion, decada, demanda, despedida, etc. So marami yan. Pero pag DES, may tendency siyang maging I, like disgrasya, disyerto, discanso, etc. Marami tayong list dun sa books para maging malinaw na ganito yung tendency from DE to DI just because may combination siya, parang isang syllable yung DIS or DES to DIS. Actually, marami pa pero I skip them kasi napaka-complicated yung sa Spanish. But the book, kahit manipis ito, it has all the details explaining why we spell it this way. Okay, next slide, please. So when found at the beginning, O remains O, like obispo, oficina, obligación. But when it follows a consonant, O becomes U, like yung politika. Of course, ang iba gusto pa rin ng PO, pero para lumalabas, mas marami ang may preference na gawing U. Maybe because kahit yung police hindi na natin in-spell na P-O-L-I-S, kundi P-U-L-I-S. Ay galing yan sa isang root word. So, politika, police, P-U. Yung kuryente, obviously, sa Spanish, it's C-O-R-R-I-E-N-T-E. Pero kadalasan, mababasa natin, regardless of region, Bikol, Tagalog, etc., it's KU na, kuryente, or bulkan, at marami pang iba. So, we have many examples, and sa survey, chine-check lang ano yung preference nyo, tapos bibilangin. Pag majority ganito, so we say this is the rule. Next slide, please. Okay. Ginawa ko kasi ito sa Word, tapos nag-transfer sa laptop na Mac. Kaya ito yung naging result. Nag-overlap yung mga letters. So, sa Spanish, may tinawag ako o bininyagan kong consequential digraph. Sa linguistics, parang wala naman itong word na to. Pero I use this as a consequence. Di ba kanina, may in-spell kayong yung kapwa, kapuwa. Now dito, ang reasoning is for the economy of letters, a new digraph is formed as a consequence. Kaya tinawag kong consequential digraphs. Pag nilista natin, makikita natin na pipili talaga tayo kung ilalagay pa natin yung vowel or yung semi-vowel would suffice. Kaya makikita natin buwitre or buitre. Ibig sabihin, we have to drop the U. And then yung BW becomes a digraph. Yun na yung consequential digraph. So ito po, because of the survey, inimbento ko na lang yung tawag na consequential digraph. Okay, another one is biyahe, from B-I-Y-A-H-E, para tipid, tanggalin na yung I, biyahe. Okay, ito naman sa kwarta, di ba? I think sa survey talagang lumabas, majority, mas preferred nilang i-drop na yung U. Kaya K-W-A-R-T-A. Kwarta, the same with kwarto. Wala ng U. Yung guwapo, drinap na rin yung U. Kaya G-W-A-P-O. Puwede, from P-U-W-E-D-E to P-W-E-D-E. Or suweldo to sweldo. Suwerte to swerte. So marami itong listahan. Pina-click ko lang for the sake na at least makita lang natin yung tendency at saka yung mga preferences ng mga tao. So ito yung tatandaan, ito lang yung parang unique na contribution dito sa Guide to Bicol Orthography, yung tinatawag kong consequential digraph. Okay, next please. Okay, before that, siguro yung isang slide na hindi ko na i-include yung mga diphthongs na like mission, M-I-S-I-O-N, instead na para mag-glide siya, we use or employ the use of the semi-vowel Y. So instead of saying M-I-S-I-O-N, papalitan natin yung I with Y. Ano po? with Y. I will explain later kung bakit. Sa language kasi natin, pag nagsunuran yung vowels, nagkakaroon ng glottal stop like leeg, L-E-E-G, leeg. Yung glottal stop is hindi natin sinasabing leg, kundi leeg. Sa amin naman, liog, L-I-O-G. So may stop siya, hindi siya liog, kundi liog. Kaya para sa atin, mas maganda na para mag-glide yung vowels, i-substitute natin yung semi-vowels like W and Y. So yun yung hindi ko lang na-include dito, pero may explain naman natin. And then, yung mga combined words, like yung sa English, crispy, English. Tapos pata, Spanish. Para maging consistent, it's crispy pata or canto boy. Of course, yung boy, English, pero you spell it the way it sounds. So, canto boy, litson kawali, instead of the Spanish lechon, L-E-C-H-O-N, para talagang Bikol na siya. So, you say litson kawali. Ito, wala to sa survey. Pero dinagdag na lang sa Guide to Bicol Orthography. Kasama na rin dito yung decolonization principle na kung Bicol, Bicol. Kung English, English. And then names of places, ganito, Calabanga, Magarao, parang Davao. If you will observe sa Davao, ginagamit na yung D-A-B-A-W, Cebu, ginagamit na S-E-B-U, ayaw na nila nung C-E-B-U. Or Caloocan, instead of C, ginagamit na rin yung K. So yun yung attempt to decolonize. Pero wala po ito sa survey, hindi natin na itanong. Pero parang added feature lang ito sa Guide to Bicol Orthography. So Calabanga, Magarao, Karamuan, Japan, Vietnam, etc. So these are additional information you can get from the book. Next, please. So, yung exemption lang is because kung registered names siya of persons, of institutions, gaya ng pangalan ko, hindi natin pwedeng palitan. Magkakaproblema tayo. So, Jose Rizal, Clase Clerigo, Soler, mga name of institutions, name of companies. So, i-retain yun. Pero the rest na wala namang legal implications, the suggestion in the Guide to Bicol Orthography is to follow the guidelines. Okay, next po. Okay. Yung last part, nasa last part na tayo, tapos na tayo sa native, tapos na tayo sa foreign, and then ito na yung the use of diacritics. At least sa Bicol language, napakarami ng same spelling. Pero context na lang para tama yung pag-pronounce. Otherwise, hindi ka maintindihan. So, saka, and saka. Yung saka, yun yung nilalagay sa manok na isasabong mo. Ano po? And then, yung saka, and then. Ika, saka ako. You and me. And then, river, salog. And then, floor is salog. So, para hindi mahirapan yung bata if you are going to give them instructions on how to read, ito yung mga pwedeng ibigay na rules. Yung pag may accent, then lalagyan natin. Like salog. Or bulos is to flow, and then bulos is to change clothes. So, ito yung pinopromote natin na sa mga writers, as much as possible, especially sa mga children's book, to really put diacritics. Para bata pa lang, matuto na sila to distinguish one from the other. Next, please. Okay, ito na yung sinasabi kong glottal stop. Pag sunuran yung mga vowels, laging may stop. Humihinto tayo. Baak. Tios. Tios is suffering or to endure. So, di ba sa Spanish, pag sinabi mong God, it's Diyos and you spell it D-I-O-S. Pero kapag ito na, pag consistent ka sa pagbasa sa Bikol or Tagalog, may glottal stop yon. So, sasabihin mo siya, Dios. Para mag-glide yung Diyos, kailangan lagyan mo ng Y para mag-glide. So, itong naaaraman, may nalalaman ako tungkol sa iyo. Naaaraman. So, hindi mo sasabihin, nairaman, kundi sasabihin mo, naaaraman. Yun yung glottal stop. Okay, paano kung ganitong mag-adal, to study? Pag hindi mo nilagyan ng hyphen, babasahin siyang magadal. Hindi siya maintindihan. So, para magkaroon ng stop, lalagyan mo siya ng hyphen. Or summer season, tig-init. Kapag hindi mo linagyan ng hyphen, babasahin siyang tiginit. Hindi siya maintindihan. So that's another way of putting a sign, parang diacritics, para alam ng bata, alam ng magbabasa na may stop. Magkahiwalay yung vowel. Pero sa unahan, yung baak, tios, naaraman, natural na yon, part na yon. So you don't have to put hyphens. Otherwise, papangit na yung pagbasa mo. Or yung pagtingin mo sa letters. So, pero at least sa second, yung mag-adal, tig-init, walang problema, and helpful yung symbol na yun. Another stop, yung gaya nito, yung sin, kasalan. Kasalan or gurano. So, kailangan parang may preno siya. Kaya makikita nyo yung diacritics pababa kasi parang pumipreno ka. May glottal stop before you pronounce the next syllable. So, ka, sa, and then lan. Go, ra, no. So, ito po yung 3 types of glottal stops. Yung sunod-sunod na mga vowels, may glottal stop. Tapos, yung prefix and then the root word. Pag ang root word is a vowel, kailangan may hyphen para hindi siya magadal o tiginit, kundi mag-adal, tiginit. And then ito naman, may stop naman siya. Kasi kung wala, it's kasalan, which is wedding, hindi siya sin. So magkaiba yung kasalan and kasal, and then gurano. I will explain that in the next, I think, the final slide. Next, please. So, more glottal stops. Makita natin, same ang spelling ng sin and wedding sa Bicol language. Sa Tagalog din, may kasalanan, tapos kasalan. Sa Bicol talagang kasalan, which means sin, versus kasalan, which is wedding. So, malaking tulong ito sa pagtuturo sa mga bata na yung paggamit ng diacritics para tama yung pag-pronounce ng pagbabasa. And another, kasi sa Tagalog, yung paano, how, and why, taano, I don't know, I'm not sure sa Tagalog kung taano talaga. Sa Bicol, parang they don't know how to spell it. Kaya, sinusunod na lang yung Tagalog, kinokopya yung paano. But we don't say paano. Actually, we say paano. Paano yan? Taano yan. May glottal stop. Kaya, para madali at hindi na malito kung paano yan i-spell, ito na yon, to be consistent. Just put a diacritic na parang pumipreno, paano, and then taano. how, and why. Okay, so ito yung unique sa language natin. I don't think English language has glottal stops. Yung Filipino language lang meron yata yan. Next, please. Oh, end of my discussion. So if you have any questions po, I'm here to explain.
Thank you so much po. That's a great presentation po. I've learned a lot actually. Um, I'm in the process of writing something, and I think that's gonna really help me a lot also po because my audience are children, and you mentioned the diacritic marks. That will help me a lot. We have a question. I want to entertain the question from our audience first. Ang tanong po niya may kay ni Ma'am Marilu Estrada Piñular. Ang mga wikang Bicolano po ba ay impluwensya ng mga Kastila o matagal nang nag-exist ang mga wikang ito before the Spanish colonization?
Okay. May sound pa ba ako? Hindi pa naman mute.
No.
Galing kay Marilu. Ano po yung tanong?
Opo.
Actually, thanks to the Marco de Lisboa Dictionary. Yung Marco de Lisboa Dictionary is pure Bicol. Wala doon na assimilated Spanish. Kasi when the missionaries came, they started to list down the Bicol words. So, Marco de Lisboa is a proof that the Bicol language existed before the colonizers came. Pero makikita natin na meron pa siyang influence galing sa Sanskrit. Meron din siyang influence galing sa China. Kasi magkakatabihan, di ba? Malaysia. Let's say, Malaysia, yung bahasa. Sanskrit yung mga words nila. And maraming common sa languages natin with the bahasa language. Bahasa, Malaysia bahasa, Indonesia. Like uban. Uban is white hair. Uban din yan sa atin, di ba? So, mga Sanskrit, pero pre-colonial terms ito o words. Meron tayong pangaji. Pangaji is to pray. Pami-bi is the common word for to pray. Pero yung pangaji, ang root niyan is mengaji, which means to read the Quran. To read the Quran. Quran is the Bible of the Muslims. Pero ibig sabihin, talagang may na-assimilate na yung Bicol language coming from the neighboring countries even before the Spaniards came.
Yeah. Oh wow, thank you po. Thank you for that answer. In the Baybayin po, which is our writing system ng mga Tagalog, there's only one symbol for the E and the E, and also one symbol for the O and the U. I'll show you real quick po stuff here. Hold on a second. A page. I'm gonna share a screen. For example, this one po, which is A and then E and O U. Which do you think is more represented here when we're example using the E or the U as a symbol? You think it's the same pronunciation? Kasi in Ilocano po, for example, in our Ilocano language, also in Ilocano orthography, this the E, we don't pronounce it as a E, but we pronounce it as a like in the schwa, the stressed schwa sound, like for example, German. The in German, pinakbat, like the pinakbat. It's not pinakbet, but it's pinakbat. Opo. So which one do you think is more represented po when you're using the E or U?
In Bicol, if I may speak for Bicol, talagang malinaw sa pandinig, ano po yung phonology. Yung orthography, yung pagsusulat, di ba? Yung phonology, yung pagpo-pronounce.
Opo.
Uh, Talagang ang tendency is I. Yung
Hmm.
yung dun yun sa mga pari na nag-aral na na-influence ng mga Kastila.
I see. Okay, that
Yun,
makes it
sila yun.
clear.
'Pag pumunta ka
Oo.
na sa mga ordinary workers, walang gumagamit ng eh. Like 'pag
Hmm.
nagpe-preach yung mga pare, yung ang first is enot, enot. Pero 'pag pumunta ka na sa mga laylayan, ay
Opo, opo.
sa
The
sa
common people, ano po, the common
common
people.
people, it's inot. Duman ka nga sa uro inutan. Walang
Yeah, yeah,
enot.
yeah. And that's what I also mentioned before po with Kwan, because I mentioned it in one of my workshops in Baybayin. Do you agree that for the most part, many speakers of the Visayan region have a harder pronunciation of the e and the o vowels compared to the other speakers in the Philippines?
I think that's correct. But sometimes they interchange nila. Kasi may classmate ako sa Visaya. We studied together German.
Mm.
Tapos, iba sa German, yung seven becomes sieben. Sieben. So, pag
Ah.
nagsasabi siyang seven in English, it's sieben. German niya, it's no, babaliktad niya. So, I don't
Opo.
really know kung ano yung psyche sa Bisaya. Pero, yung natural tendency talaga is hard. It's hard. Kahit sa
Harder.
people,
Opo.
it's E than E.
Maybe.
Maririnig yung sa mga kaparian.
Oh, opo. So maybe hindi po kaya resulta 'yun ng kunwari kasi very conscious na sila sa pronunciation, so they try to make it a softer
Correct.
pronunciation, kaya po sila nagkakamali in the pronunciation. But naturally, yun talagang gusto niya is to pronounce it harder.
Mhm.
And that's the same with Ilocano po because my L1 is Ilocano. And I
Mhm.
have tendency sometimes to catch myself. Should I pronounce this with a soft e or a hard a or even the schwa e?
Correct.
So I have that mistake sometimes. So, but it's very important for us to understand this and know what's happening for us to be able to, well, not stereotype on certain groups, or look at them like, why are they pronouncing it like this or like that. It's very important for us to understand that so that we don't judge them like, oh, bakit ganon, di po ba? It's because there's a reason behind it. Because we speak a different language, which is something that's actually positive because other people don't speak Bicol like I do, and now kung naririnig ko po sila, they speak a harder pronunciation of certain types. They most likely speak Bicolano also, which is something that I really admire because they know other language. Um, I have another question here, Paul, regarding the book naman. How did the initiative to create a guideline on Bicol orthography started?
Actually, it's my advocacy. As I've said, the first reason is let's not think only of ourselves, but how can we encourage children to
Mm.
read? Actually, in the church, many could confidently read English, but if you ask them to read the scriptures in Bicol, parang walang gusto kasi nalilito sila sa ipa-iba-iba yung spelling system. So if that's true to the adults, that should be more relevant, especially to children. So talagang if we want to encourage yung MTBLE na policy sa edukasyon, talagang dapat we should prepare materials with similar of same spelling system para hindi malito yung mga bata.
That is very important po. That's that's so Juan, very so these guidelines are very important, essential in trying to, well, not only uh keep using the language, but even revitalization of certain language. There needs to be a standardization. It may not be as easy as reviving the Hebrew language, like what Ben Yehuda had done, di po ba? but it would definitely help us set a standard on certain use of a language po. And these kind of guidelines are very essential in that part, in trying to maintain the language and trying to kind of like and these books, of course, these corpuses, these books po, can serve a lot as a uh, help us freeze a language, or the use of the language in that
Mhm.
sense. um, so, what was the most challenging part of creating the guideline po?
Uh, First, psychologically, I was attached to my own system of writing. Uh,
Yes.
may attachment ako sa old. Tapos parang masakit sa loob ko to
Yes.
be converted. Kasi uh, I did the survey. People helped me how to conduct the survey. Yung mga galing sa mga statisticians, etc. Nung bumalik na yung result, parang ako yung nagre-rebelde. Parang masakit sa loob. Nasundin. Parang I just wanted to ignore yung ginawang survey. But later, parang natatanggap ko na at nasasanay ko. Sabi ko, psychological lang naman pala yung
Mhm.
attachment
Opo.
sa old system. So actually, the hardest to convince are my fellow clergymen, kaming mga pare. Yung nasanay,
Mm.
hindi na makikinig sa akin at hindi sila sum- sumusunod sa guidelines. Sanay sila eh. But it will
Opo.
just take one generation or two, di ba?
Yes.
To adapt the new system.
And that's
So,
also the same hope that we have actually for the baybayin writing system, is that
mm,
like you po, ako rin po yung isang nagre-rebelde. For example, sanay na po ako sa Roman alphabet,
mhm,
of writing the Roman alphabet. Why have to go back?
mhm.
But it's like what you said, it's a matter of getting used to, because you can get used to it, and you can also bring that back, yung kung paano gagamitin yung for example po, ito, I'll show you po another slide where the screen, the use of ra and da and ra, like one of the question po of one of our admins, si Sir Joel, he was asking about the da and ra. Kung minsan, how do you use the da and ra in the baybayin writing system? Which one do you use? Sometimes it depends if it's like in the middle of the word, or at the end of the beginning of the word. Pero yun nga po, it's in a matter of getting used to. Like what you mentioned, by just one generation, may turo lang sa mga kabataan yan. They might be the ones to start writing books in baybayin, di po ba?
Correct.
Yeah.
Just insulate them from the influence na yung Roman.
Yeah,
So,
and that's exactly what Ben Yehuda had also done with the Hebrew language, is that he started teaching it to his children
mhm.
and isolating them from the Roman alphabet, or from the Roman writing system. It was hard, but
Mhm.
it, of course, reviving the Baybayin writing system is not as easy as Hebrew, because Hebrew has a lot of corpuses, or has a lot of books of written materials. Yung Biblia na lang, di po ba, was written. The Old Testament is written in Hebrew, so kaya mas mahirap na i-revive ang baybayin writing system. But
May-
it's again
if I
matter of
may ask, ano yun, advocacy nyo ba yun na ibalik sa baybayin?
yes po.
Ah,
It's not necessary to ibalik ang baybayin writing system yet, but for the children to be aware of it, and
aha.
maybe from their generation, they will decide, their generation will decide if we can revive the baybayin writing system,
Mhm.
because they will be the ones to be more familiar with this writing system, not us, because
Okay.
we're more used to the
Okay.
Roman alphabet. And I think, yeah, the next generation, kung matuturuan po sila, they will decide if they can revive the baybayin writing system. Um, so, for the most part po, in your guidelines, who are the target audiences of this guideline po?
Actually, parang may Bicolano Renaissance. maraming nagsusulat ngayon sa Bicol. So
Yes.
may mga different associations ng mga parasurat Bicol noon. So sila yung first target natin sa guidelines. Ang second, yung mga teachers. Yung mga teachers. Kasi yung mga teachers naman, talagang they need materials. And sila yung natutulungan ng guidelines na to. So once in a while, they would refer to the guidelines.
Yes, thank you po for that, because that's also what we are hoping, and these kind of talks po, we're hoping it could also help us, guide us in trying to promote the different languages in the Philippines. With as far as your hope, what do you hope is the role of this guideline to future educators and learners of the Bicol language po?
Actually, itong guideline na ito, parang pwede na itong sabing obsolete kasi matanda na ito eh. And then when I say guideline, parang suggestion lang naman to. Kung mong sundin o hindi. But maybe, kailangan naman na yung nagmamalasakit talaga na magkaroon ng uniform writing system or orthography. Maybe yung mga educators mag-ipon-ipon and then magkaroon ng discussion. And then alin which one works, which one does not work. Parang pragmatic lang na ano yung talagang very useful, ano yung hindi nakakatulong. Para ma-evaluate lang. So that magkaroon umuli na parang revised edition ng guideline. Parang work in progress siya. It's a work in progress.
I would like to ask your opinion po. For example, I mean, you could choose to either answer it or not. For as far as the writing system is, you think it would be useful for us to revive the writing systems, any of the writing systems in the Philippines? Kasi sabi nilang iba, may iba't ibang writing system. But even just for the baybayin, you think it would be useful to revive it, or would it make sense still to revive?
First, parang chaotic. parang impossible dream.
Yes.
Kasi parang sanay na yung buong psyche ng Pilipino na sanay na doon sa Roman writing, Roman system. Tapos, yung I mentioned the word pragmatic, yung practicality, na sanay na yung mata natin na bumasa ng English using that system. Tapos, sasanayin mo naman yung mata mo na nagbabasa ng entirely parang strange system. Pero, in terms of calligraphy, in terms of art, in terms of culture, napakaganda. Actually, isa sa advocacy ko, ang major advocacy ko is decolonization. Papasok siya sa decolonizing educational system. Kasama na yung baybayin. Dapat may balik talaga yun. Imposibleng, parang maganda, doble yung learning mo kung marunong kang magbasa ng baybayin, marunong ka rin magbasa ng current alphabet system natin, writing system natin. Diba?
Thank you so much.
Mas matalino yung mga bata na multiple yung alam nila eh.
Yes, opo. And you know po, yun nga, I think it's hard in our generation to revive it. Kaya po, I leave it up to the hands of those na matuturuan ng baybayin. Kung matuturuan po natin sila, because sila na po yung they can hold a presentation, an entire presentation with the baybayin writing system. Sila na pong makakakayang gumawa noon pag maturuan po sila ng maaga. And because they're quick learners, mga kabataan po are quick learners. Anyways po, that's a great way to end this discussion, and we hope to have more chance to speak with you po someday if there's a version 2 of the book. And yun nga po sa ating mga guro, lalo sa mga there's a renaissance of the Bicol language or writers who promotes the Bicol language or even other languages in the Philippines. Let's po. These are very important materials, very essential materials po for us to use. Ayun nga, naka-pick up na po ako kaagad. use diacritic marks in your books.
Mhm.
um I'm gonna have to revise my writing now, which is not gonna be hard because madali lang naman. I'm in the process of just still writing the translation. So now I could start using the diacritic marks of the Filipino language. Yung problema, hindi ako masyadong bihasa sa Tagalog, so I'll probably ask more of my Tagalog speaker friends to confirm the how certain things are pronounced, where are the stress of some words. But
Mhm.
again, I mean, those are very important tool that we can use to educate younger individuals how to pronounce certain words, di po ba? Para po mas madali nilang matutunan. At maraming maraming salamat po sa pagpapa-unlock po ninyo sa aming paanyaya. And Ma'am Andre, do you have any other words po? Ay, naka-mute po kayo, ma'am.
Thank you po talaga, Father Tria, for
Mhm.
giving the opportunity to Kultura or to Kapwa to be our speaker for today, to give this lecture on Bicol orthography, kasi na-realize ko po ngayon na kasi nandito po ako sa Ilo, Hiligaynon po ako. Parang
Mhm.
kung pumunta man po ako sa Bicol, hindi ako mawawala kasi may pareho tayong ano, kasi nasa I think nasa Visayas po kayo.
Mhm.
Kapareho ko po, meron tayong ano, same words, kapareho
Opo.
po. At saka po salamat po sa encourage for this Bicol orthography po. Kasi sasabi niyo po, yung mga bata ngayon, because of mother tongue, nawawala po yung kanilang L1, yung first language na dapat na sa kanila, yung native language nila. As kung sa Bicol ka or sa Iloilo ka, which is Siligaynon, or kay Sir Alan, which is Ilocano po. So, dapat i-revive, ma-instill na lang, miski konti lang po, para sa future generation na hindi mawawala ang kanilang native language po. Tapos po, salamat din po, Father, for giving us an idea kung paano ma-revitalize yung mga different languages. Example, sa'yo, yung pag-promote mo ng Bicol language. Yun po. At
Mhm.
saka, for those teachers po who are waiting for the Kultura Code, to receive a certificate, the Kultura Code is all caps KL S2E14 dot KC654. Again, KLS 2E14 dot KC654. Alright. So, yun po yung Kultura Code for this episode. Bicol Orthography by Father Wilmer Joseph Tria. Go to our website and key in the Kultura Code so that you can get your certificates. Antabayanan niyo po yung docu komentaryo on the end of the month about Kumari Goddess of Nepal po for our docu komentaryo episode or program ng Kultura Kapwa po. Yun lang po.
Maraming maraming salamat po ulit, Ma'am Andre. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng mga sumuporta, sa lahat ng mga nanood ng live. Thank you so much to everyone. Maraming salamat at nakakasama namin kayo sa mga pagkakataong ganito. Again po, thank you so much everyone. Have a great day po. Have a great night sa inyo dun sa Pilipinas. It's my day here. I just received a cancellation kasi University of Maryland has been there's been some damage, like they basically canceled our work today. But anyways, thank you po. Maraming salamat for a great night of discussion and presentation po.